Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again because for some reason they postponed MasterChef Junior again. So last night, I was already having a problem, and so we weren't going to be able to watch MasterChef Junior until this morning. And then when we wanted to watch it this morning, it's like, oh, can't watch it. So instead, I decided to watch this new release movie, Wicked Little Letters. And it's based on a true story. It takes place in the 1920s in England. And it's kind of a mystery about these letters that are being sent to this conservative spinster woman named Edith, and it's suspected that this very foul-mouthed Irish girl, Rose, is the one that's sending them. And she's kind of being framed, and or at least that's what it seems like. It just seems like it's too perfect that, she's this, really, she's just a I don't know what you call her. But she swears a lot. She's slutty. You know, she's a wild thing, and it just seems like, oh, it's obvious that she would be the one sending the letters, but ooh, who's really sending the letters? Why are they sending the letters? Who cares? That's the question that I asked at first. I was like, honestly, this movie, I guess it could have been good. The true story seems like it would have been better if it was done in a 10-minute YouTube video where you have pictures of the real people and there's a narrator with a nice voice, and he's like, so in this little town you had this one woman and she got letters, and it would be resolved within 10 minutes. But instead, this is an hour and 40-minute long movie. It's very slow. It's very dry the way that it was made. I don't know how to explain that. When a movie is dry, it's like it needs something, and it's missing an ingredient to help boost it and make it more entertaining the whole way through. And it's just kind of like the script is shot and there's nothing else to it. It's like this is a movie where you guys remember how I said that Napoleon is the ultimate Father's Day movie? This is the ultimate Mother's Day movie, where I could definitely imagine on a Sunday, especially. This is a sleepy movie that you see on a Sunday to celebrate Mother's Day and everything. That's what this movie's like. It's a very low stakes movie. I mean, honestly, the idea of these profane letters being sent to someone, it's who cares? Honestly, that's one of the least important problems in the world. But the problem is that nowadays people pretend words are harmful, and they pretend being called the wrong pronouns is the same thing as being raped or murdered. And so I guess the people who made this movie, they kind of think that oh, this actually is a huge deal, what's going on in this movie. And I was kind of no, this is silly. It's very, very silly, the whole movie. I like the two main actresses. I mean, you got Olivia Colman, Jessie Buckley. Jessie Buckley is pretty much good in everything that she's in, even if the movie's bad. And but the thing is that there's another big problem with this movie, and it's probably the problem that everyone has already talked about. And again, this review's almost kind of redundant because there's hardly anything to talk about with this movie. It's just a very it's a very just throwaway type of movie. You'd see it with your mom on a Mother's Day celebration thing. You walk out of the theater and you'd say, that was pretty good, and then you'd never think about it or watch it again, And it feels like it could have been something better. It feels like, I love mysteries. And this really wasn't a great mystery, especially in the way that it was executed on screen. And one of the reasons is because of the casting. This movie has like DEI checklist casting all over it. Like the Jessie Buckley's character, she's living with a black man in the 1920s in England, which would never happen ever. And there's this police officer, and they literally call her woman police officer, and she's another kind of like token casting choice. And then they have a black judge, and it's ridiculous. It's like, it's so phony. And I'm so sick and tired of, like, even when they make historical movies and shows nowadays, they just can't resist the focus on DEI over storytelling and over making good movies. And so it's weird because this town is like obsessed with gender and sexism and religion. Like, there's so many agenda scenes in the movie. Like, there's this one part where let's see, where is it? Here's a quote. "I'm a police officer. Woman police officer." That's what the white man police chief says. And then at the funeral, because what happens, spoiler alert, at the funeral for Edith's mother actually dies from reading one of the letters that was written. The priest says, "She was a great woman who knew her place." So, like, it's weird because this society is, like, obsessed with gender. But they don't care about race at all, apparently. Like, there's no racist people in 1920s England. Black people are all, like, integrated into society in, like, these specific roles, like a judge. There's this one woman who works at the post office as well. It's ridiculous. It just completely takes you out of the movie. And it's like fan fiction. It's like you can't take it seriously. Like, even if it was like the greatest movie of the year in terms of the story, you would not be able to take this movie seriously because of the casting. Because you're just sitting there thinking, like, why are they pretending like this actually happened, like, back then? Like, it's just so queer. I mean, this basically should have been a play or something. Like, because then it would have been like, whatever. Like, with theater, that kind of thing doesn't really matter for the most part. But with movies, it definitely matters. And for this especially, it just completely, like, ruins the whole film. Because it's like, the whole movie is like, there's this strange focus on gender. And I also gotta say, like, I'm so sick and tired of all these movies that are just completely focused on gender the whole way through, like in feminism and crap like that. Like, I just want to watch a movie with a good story, and now every single movie that comes out is all about how, like, women are all victims of everything, and men are all bad, and I'm just sick and tired of it. Like, that's why it's been fun at least to watch these Allison Mack movies, is because at least there's stories there. At least it's not like just all about lecturing the audience on how women are all victims of society, like in this movie. Because, spoiler alert, if you guys even care, the conservative spinster woman, Edith, she turns out to be the bad guy. And, you know, she's living like a really kind of miserable life. You know, her father is terrible and he's really sexist, and he doesn't really care about her at all, you know, and you know, she's just really lonely as well. They say that she reads the Bible 5 times a day or something. Like, it's just really over the top too. Like, there was another part in the movie where the dad was like, okay, you have to go read this part of the Bible 120 times because whatever, because she did something wrong. And it's like, yeah, this is totally like what people think happened back then versus what actually happened, you know? Like, I'm getting so sick and tired of, like, these period movies, too, where the people writing it, they obviously have no idea what it was like back then, and they didn't bother to do basically, like, any research, so it's like a bunch of bullshit. It's, like, just constant, like, over-the-top exaggeration, and, yeah. And, you know, there's kind of like a little cat and mouse game between these characters. But when the movie kind of picks up a little bit at the end, you just kind of lose interest because it was never really that interesting in the first place. Because no matter how good these actresses are, they can't cover up for a bad script, you know, in a bad movie. They can, like, even if the worst movie in the world had, like, the greatest performance, it would still be the worst movie in the world. And I'm trying to think of what else to say, because this movie's so, it's so sleepy. This is a sleepy movie that you fall asleep watching, and you wake up and you'd be like, oh, yeah, the movie's almost over. And then, like, Edith, the main, I guess she's like the villain of the movie a little bit. It's I don't know, like, there's not really any motivation for her as a character except for she's lonely and she has a terrible life, so she wanted to make it interesting by sending these letters. And that's the problem, is that I guess that they don't really know her motivations behind it, and she doesn't really have, like, a character in that way. Like, it's just like all assumptions here, and so they kind of keep it a little mysterious at the end, and what happens is she has like a couple of outbursts, and the movie ends with her laughing like the Joker. So yeah, and another thing is, like, I wonder, like, who really is this movie for? Safi, I want to ask, because Safi's a woman, or so we think. And so I want to see if Safi would be interested in this story even. Like, is anyone actually interested in this piece of crap? Safi?
Yes?
Get in here for a second. Okay. No. Stand over there.
Where?
Over here. Face away. No, just like this. Like you're a museum exhibit. Okay, Safi. I want to see, because this movie's, like, I guess it's supposed to be geared towards women.
What movie?
A new movie. You wouldn't, well, okay. Let's see if you'd be interested in this movie, since you're, like, the target audience. Maybe.
Am?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
So, it's based on a true story. It's all about this woman, this conservative woman, who's in her 40s or 50s, and she's a spinster, and she's receiving profane letters from someone, and it ends up getting framed on the Irish girl who's like a big whore and a slut, and
Wait a minute, what gets framed?
The letters, as if that's like a crime.
Oh.
And so she's like a real foul-mouthed woman. And so, like, what do you think about that? Is that like an interesting story to you?
Not really.
Oh. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And so there you go. Like, even the target audience doesn't care about this movie. So, yeah. So this movie, I don't know what else to say about it. You get to see Jessie Buckley nude from behind in one brief shot in the movie. So that, I guess that was kind of nice. I guess, but, like, yeah, this movie is just, it's really forgettable. It's really hard to say, though, if, like, this is the worst movie of the year, because it was much more of an agenda movie than Drive Away Dolls was, but I like the acting a little bit more in this movie, and so therefore I like the characters a little bit more. So I'm really having a hard time just in general The only issue I'm having is like just deciding which movie is worse here. Drive Away Dolls or Wicked Little Letters. So that's the last thing I guess I'll say. And then I'll give my food review. My food review for this crappy agenda movie is banana bread without the nuts. When you have banana bread can be really, really good or just really bad. And it's really bad when it's missing the nuts or when it's just missing something. Like last year, we had this banana bread from the store and it just had all this sugar in it. And you could barely like taste the pieces of banana that were in there. Like the banana was so mushed up that it was like non-existent, the bananas. All you could taste were nuts. And in this case, I think it's like this movie didn't have any nuts. It was just this really generic banana bread, and it was really pretty bad. So anyways, please like this video and comment and tell us what you thought of, or what you think the movie would be. Because, yeah. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews like this. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, there's nothing else to say except, like, God, I wish they'd make, like, good movies nowadays and they'd stop just be focused on, like, diversity instead of storytelling. Because, like, maybe this movie could have been good. I mean, it's not really that complex of a mystery. It's not really that intense in terms of, like, it's not like Zodiac or something where, you know, it's like you don't even know who the killer is even at this point. Or killers, as it probably was. It was probably multiple people. It's not like that. It's just a very, like, it could have been like a TV episode, like a 20-minute Andy Griffith episode, or Leave It to Beaver. You know, it really didn't need to be a hour and 40-minute movie that you go to the theaters to see. And, yeah. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.